Ladies and gentlemen, if you can take your seats, the session's about to begin. If you may kindly take your seats, the session is about to begin. If you may kindly take your seats, the session is about to begin. If you are to speak to my colleagues, they'll tell you that it's not often that I have no words. But I can say at this time I have no words. And this is because of the gratitude that all the co-hosts share for all the delegates that joined us at this inaugural Global DPI Summit. This has been your summit. You have made it a success, and please give yourselves a round of applause. I think we've had incredible sessions throughout this summit. 64 sessions, you'll be told, and that's not a small number. In those 64 sessions, we talked about implementations from Africa, blueprints from Asia, lessons coming from Europe, inspiration from the Americas. We talked about gender equity, sovereignty, health, financial inclusion, everything from A to Z. I imagine we even created new letters of the alphabet, a DPI alphabet, I guess. And to everyone who moderated, spoke, or shared their insights, it's been incredible. We learned from you, we asked questions, we prodded, but all this brought us together. And so the idea is that we continue on this journey. I'd be remiss if I don't talk about the cocktail last night. Who would have thought DPI folks can dance? But jokes aside, it's engagements like that that teach us that DPI is not just about technology or policy, but it's also about shared experiences, connections, and being able to engage with people from faraway places. So the hope is that all this led to connections being made and promises for the future coming to light. So as people head back to their countries, whether you are staying in Cairo, you're traveling to California, to Kigali, to Tokyo, wherever you're going, the idea is that we are in this together. And our shared vision will ensure that we continue to engage and work together. So we're excited about the energy that we continue to show. This is a start. Let the energy not end here, but the energy continues in the work that we're going to do. Now, I'm going to ask us to share in the energy because our technical team, who are doing amazing work at the back, are going to show you a highlight video for the last 3 days. Please, take it away.
I'd like to welcome you all to the first Global DPI Summit. We convene today amidst unprecedented, heightened momentum on the role of technology in shaping our shared, sustainable, global future.
A lot of the focus on DPI is about technology, and that has to be the fulcrum of what we do in everything, because as we know, digitization moves at the speed of trust, and unless we build trust into the system, we will not make progress.
DPI is not only about solving our problems from the past, not only about the present challenge of turbocharging the digital economy inclusively, but also thinking about the future.
The continent of Africa trades more with the outside world than it does with itself. And at the heart of this imbalanced trading pattern is lack of digital technological advancement to enable us as a continent to rapidly overcome the poverty crisis that we face for many decades.
I've been looking forward to this summit for a while.
My expectations were really just to see where the state of the industry is in 2024, and so I think my expectations have been met.
So I really hope that we'll use this summit to come together. It's a fantastic group, thought leaders, academia, private sector, to really, in a very practical manner, reflect on, so what comes after this summit? What role will DPI have to play, and what can we all do?
So being universal is a fundamental tenet of DPI, that everybody should be in the game. And that's something we care about. So I do hope we achieve some amazing progress and really take DPI to the world and all become agents of change for 8 billion people.
$732 delegates, 101 countries, 64 sessions, 174 speakers. I think that deserves another round of applause. I'm sure it's not me you want to hear from, so allow me just to call up some of our co-hosts so that we can get a sense of their takeaways from the summit. So please put your hands together for Engineer Mahmoud Badawi, the advisor to the Minister in the Ministry of ICT, the Government of Egypt. Alex Wong, Senior Advisor for ITU. Kezom Godup Masali, Head of Digital and IT and AI Programs at UNDP. And CV Maduka, the CEO of Co-Develop. And Peter Kusek with the World Bank. It was really a dramatic pause. Please, kindly take your seats. Oh, no, please. All right. I think what the audience really want to hear is, and I'll start with you, Kezom, if that's all right. They'd love to hear what your key takeaways from the summit are and what your hopes are for the future, given the convenings and the discussions we've had today.
Garikai, thank you so much. That was incredible to watch. I think, firstly, thank you so much to our host, the Government of Egypt, and to our co-organizers, in particular, of course, Co-Develop, Madhukar and Garikai for really bringing us together. As we were preparing for the closing, I had a chance to ask a few of you about what your key takeaways were and really use that to reflect together about where do we go from here. I would say that, you know, one of the instrumental aspects of a summit like what we have here is the people that come together and the discussions that are generated, the partnerships that are created, and the trust that is built for us to accelerate the impact of digital public infrastructure implementations in countries, across borders, and around the world. So I think one of the key takeaways for me from the United Nations Development Program is that we must now really focus on in-country implementations. And that will require us to not just align and cooperate, but seriously collaborate and work together and build off of each other's expertise, capital, and commitment. My second key takeaway is, and I'm so glad that of the 64 sessions that we had, one of them really spoke about women and girl inclusion that is possible through digital public infrastructure. And I was told by one of you that, often we've been told that, access to justice and grievance redressal mechanism for women and girl children are not possible. But finally, we are seeing the possibility. We're seeing the potential. And to realize that potential is not only going to take our astute collaboration, but to putting safe and inclusive implementations at the heart of every digital public infrastructure implementation. So the Universal Digital Public Infrastructure Safeguards Framework becomes a valuable asset, a framework for everyone. And we hope that you will use that not as your 5th priority or your 10th priority, but in solving your challenges as you commit yourself to working with the governments, with the local ecosystems to implement digital public infrastructure for the Sustainable Development Goals. I hand it back to you, but thank you so much for an amazing 3 days together.
Thank you so much, Kaysom. We are inspired, we are motivated, and I think the call to action is clear and one that we should all certainly heed. Peter, I'm coming to you. What are your thoughts in terms of the key takeaways of the summit?
Thank you so much. And on behalf of the World Bank, allow me to also extend our thanks to all the organizers, our esteemed hosts, and to all of you in the audience for such enriching 3 days. As I was reflecting on my own main impressions over the last 3 days, they've really coalesced around 3 I's: influence, inspiration, and impact. Influence. I think we've all come away with so many impressions, insights, learnings from each other that will influence what we do in our own DPI roles going forward. Inspiration. I was delighted to see so many countries talking to each other, not just at the panels, but during coffee breaks, lunches, dinner receptions, inspiring one another, each other with their own DPI journeys, experiences, but also stories of challenge and how they've overcome that challenge. And 3, impact. I was so thrilled to see that so many of the discussions have gone beyond adoption and access to DPI to also talk about inclusion, responsible, safe, and secure DPI. For the World Bank, we'll be taking on these learnings ourselves, as in the coming months, we'll be launching our 5-year global DPI strategy, working on top of the last 10 years of experience working with all of you on identification, payment, and data exchange systems. So we look forward to continuing this journey with all of you. And with that, if I may, the same way I jogged onto the stage, if I could be allowed to jog off the stage to catch a plane.
Peter, you are certainly allowed, and thank you so much. A round of applause for him as he jogs for the plane. With that, Engineer Badawi, you've been a gracious host, and we appreciate being here. A round of applause to our hosts. We're very keen to learn the key takeaways that you're taking from here and also the vision for Egypt for the future. for DPI?
First, thank you, and thanks to all of our co-hosts and organizers. And I thank everyone literally, and even our colleagues in the blue and the black t-shirts. They have been of a magnificent help. And it's not only about the help that they're given, it's also about the spirit that was given across the 3 days. It's so rare when you see such a lively interactions in the face of everyone that you meet. And that's not only through the organizers, that's through everyone. Every fireside chat, every session, every panel. So you see the face itself and the impressions itself, it shows the level of commitment towards a better future. When we look at the DPI today, it's a tool to let us actually drive a better future for the citizens, for the constituents, for the economic reforms, for everything. So those tools need to be harvested. We need to commit, actually, to take what we learned here, what we knew here, all the connections that we have, and take it to the next step. And those steps are only achievable through two main characteristics that needs to stay in the DNA of any digital transformation, which is sustainability through persistence. Because challenges will not stop here. Challenges will grow every day and every day, and challenges are dynamic. So our persistence is the only weapon that we have against those. The second one is resilience. Being resilient enough to changes and being adaptive enough to change the path and the course to achieve your objective. This can only happen through a set of call to actions that we need all to commit to personally and take it further with our companies, with our governments, with our leadership, how to take those steps further and further to make sure that we adopt really a sustainable, inclusive DPI.
Thank you so much. Those are powerful words, Engineer, and certainly a strong call to action that we certainly will heed. Alex, I'm coming to you in terms of a sense of any key takeaways you have for the summit.
Thank you, Garakai. So on behalf of our Deputy Secretary General who opened, he sends his regards, as well as our Secretary General. So I would take 5 messages or takeaways from the conference. And the first one is having you all in this room and having all the energy the last 3 days shows the importance of collaboration. And that goes all the way back to Madakar. When we first contacted you in March, we only thought about this thing in March, that we should actually show and walk the talk by having all of the key organizations who've been driving the global agenda together. So I want to thank our co-hosts, our co-partners, but also co-develop. When we approached you, Madakar, that automatically we said we need to work together on this. And so our message to you as the co-hosts is we want to work together on a global level and collaborate. And of course, all of you out there, the last 3 days have really reinforced that through all the energy and the enthusiasm. The second message is, and it's been mentioned already, and it was mentioned throughout the last 3 days, that DPI is the means to the end. The end is ultimately digital transformation that results in an inclusive society and economies for sustainable development. That's really what we need to achieve. That's what governments are all trying to achieve. So DPIs are critical. They're one of the key ways that we can achieve that. So they're the means to the end. Third, and I think it was summed up greatly in one of the session topics, which was called, or referred to the need for DPIs to be brewed in the African pot, which I thought about last night when I was eating ice cream and was really hungry. I thought about African pot food. So this, of course, reinforces that DPIs need to be localized. They have to take into the local context, and I think that was a key message. The fourth is interoperability. I think that was a common theme. I won't get into the debate about open source. There was a lot of discussions on open source, but I think there was pretty unanimous approval and agreement that interoperability between the DPIs needs to be there. And then finally, for us on the ITU side, with our UNICEF colleagues, our GIGA initiative, Connect Every School to Internet, we have now connected that to launching the Education DPI Accelerator. So we can create a space to help showcase solutions already there, but also help spur the development of further DPIs for education. So it's an example, again, of connecting dots All of you are doing initiatives somewhere tied to digital transformation, and I think there's this kind of a conference gives us a place to connect all these things down to some of the foundational enablers, such as DPI. Thank you very much.
So much, Alex. Monica, I'll come to you in terms of your key takeaways. Any key thoughts across the summit?
The opportunity to be with you all has been a blessing for us, because there's just so much opportunity to learn from each other, share ideas, cook up new ones. I think these 3 days have been fascinating on so many counts. So deep gratitude to our host country, Egypt, for having us, and all of the hard work our colleagues on the Egyptian government side have put together. And of course, our co-hosts from UNDP, ITU, the World Bank. I know the Tech Envoy's office, we don't have a representative here. I want to acknowledge them. All of the co-hosts have been wonderful to work with. As my team will relate to when I say this, my takeaway from this is I like the number 101. Next year, when we meet, we want to hear 101 success stories from 101 countries. That's the goal for us. I'm hoping that it's a combination of both tech deployments and concrete progress on inclusion and safeguards. For us, as we've always said, these are 2 tracks on which the train runs. If one of these tracks is loose, the train will collapse at some point. And so we're very hopeful that we will see 101 stories next year. By this time, no pressure. I think the energy in this room gives me optimism and confidence we will get there. I think the sense of urgency is upon us, and it's very obvious that countries will not wait for perfect solutions. They will get and work with whatever solution they will get. But it is incumbent upon us as a community to help countries make the best choices they can make and support their journeys, because it will impact the lives of billions of people around the world. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much for that, Marjika. I think these have been words of inspiration from our co-hosts. I'm going to ask our co-hosts to take their leave, but I'll ask Engineer Badawi and Marjika if you can remain in your seats. A round of applause for our co-hosts. I think we have a strong call for action, 101 deployments by this time next year. That's going to be an exciting sense of deployment. Engineer Badawi, allow me to pass this microphone over to you for your key remarks.
Thank you so much, Gerikai. As an outcome of the summit, we built a call to action. And this call to action will be published and available for everyone to review and take it further into their respective domains and respective countries to execute and share with us their success stories in the next summit, inshallah. The Global DPI Summit hosted in Cairo, Egypt, from the 1st to the 3rd of October 2024, brought together representatives from more than 100 countries with diverse stakeholders from the public sector, private sector, and the civil society to create a fertile ground for dialogue. Knowledge and exchange and collaborations were the key themes of this summit. The summit focused on powerful impact of safe and inclusive implementation of digital public infrastructure to accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals. This event spotlighted the extraordinary progress countries are making in adopting and implementing DPI by highlighting the diverse and dynamic breadth of the DPI ecosystem. The summit underscored the transformative impact of DPI on national and global scales. Compelling use cases, diverse technology solutions, policy frameworks and implementation models that are reshaping public infrastructure. The global DPI acted as a catalyst for fostering strategic partnerships and collaborations. These efforts will be instrumental in accelerating the DPI implementation journeys of various countries, enabling them to harness the full potential of DPI for the sustainable development and societal advancement. Overall, the DPI Summit has prioritized 7 big bets for 2025. The first one is knowledge sharing and stakeholder engagement. Second, universal safeguards. Third, inclusive innovation. Fourth, thriving and capable local digital ecosystems. Fifth, sustainability and green practices. Seventh, financing DPI. And last but not least, interoperability and standards for DPI. I ask you all to look at those call to actions, and I ask you to have your own personal commitment to make those call to actions achievable and done. And following back to the esteemed panelists' statement, next year we're looking for 101. Maybe when we pass the information further and further in our day-to-day interactions, we end up with a 200 and a 300. It's all about knowledge sharing. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again in Cairo and in Egypt. And believe it or not, we are standing here in the crown jewel of our development, the new capital, and we're looking forward to seeing you next year or the years after that or any time in the further developed places in the northern part of the country, southern part, upper part. So we are looking forward to seeing you all, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Engineer Badawi. Certainly a bold call to action, and we appreciate being hosted here in the new administrative capital. Majka, I'm going to pass the microphone over to you for your key remarks. A round of applause.
Over the last 3 days, there's been a lot of interaction, and I've picked up so many new ideas, made many new connections, and also in the process picked up several nuggets, and I might want to share maybe 3 or 4 with you. And I'm going to rattle off a few that I've picked up from various sources. The first one that comes to mind is, if others cannot build on it, it is not DPI. Worth thinking about it, because it's very easy to conflate digitization with the DPI approach. And so worth seriously thinking about that. The other we heard on the first day was public rails, private innovation. How can we create this layer of infrastructure that enables others to build on, and therefore not just for the government, but enable the economy and society to actually benefit from this work that we're doing. The third is that we don't know the future, and therefore we can't design all solutions for the future. But what we can do is create optionality for the future. By laying out infrastructure layers, we are able to create the optionality to assemble and combine them as useful. The fourth that comes to mind is DPI requires deep conviction, not deep pockets. And this is important, and this is my last point. As we look at the world today in 2024, estimates are that the world would be spending governments would be spending about $800 billion on technology in 2024. Of this, 88% will be spent by mature economies. Mature economies are OECD, maybe plus China, something like that, about 3 billion people in the world. The other 160 countries in the world will be spending 12% of the overall government spending on IT. If we extrapolate the Western and OECD model of digitization for the rest of the world, even if we have 100 World Banks, I know Peter is not here, 100 World Banks supporting this every year, we don't have a financially feasible path to get to the digital maturity that we want. So as my friend David Eves, who's not here, says, we're at this moment in digitization when, back in the early 90s when we had telephone connections across the Western world, the goal, and ITU, you will have a historical sense of this, was we wanted to have telephones in every part of the world even back then. But the calculation we were doing was how much copper do we need to lay all the copper wires to get the telephone connections. But what we've seen is cell phones came. We're not calculating copper wires anymore. So we are at a moment in the digitization journeys of countries where our mindset should shift from thinking about copper wires to what is the alternative that can reach us there faster, better, cheaper. That's the moment we are in. I want us to let that sink in for a moment. And I hope that all of these, the inspiration we've drawn from each other over the last 3 days will set us on this new and important track that we've taken upon ourselves to reshape the digitization journey of many, many countries around the world. Thank you very much for your partnership. I think this is a huge endeavor. And without the collective action of all of us steering in the same direction, we will not make progress. So very grateful for all of you for being here with all of us and supporting this journey and this 3 days that we've been together. Look forward to being in touch with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madhuka. I think another round of applause for all our co-hosts, all our speakers, and yourselves. Would I be wrong to say we enjoyed this summit? Would I? So I guess we should do it again. And so I'm happy to announce that we are thinking, the dates of the second Global DPI Summit will be November 4th to 6th, 2025. Please put that in your calendars. We're of course going to approach countries so that we can have a discussive process in terms of which country will host the summit, but please have that pinned in your calendar. I repeat, November 4th to 6th, 2025. Without saying too much, I'm going to call upon our Director of Operations at Co-Develop, Liz Remy, to give us some thank you remarks. Liz, over to you.
Before I say our final thanks, I would just like to note that Madhukar has shifted from 50 and 5 to 101 and 1. So partners, please take note. We have a lot of work to do. But in addition to our co-hosts, our partners and sponsors from whom we've heard today and to whom we extend our deep gratitude, especially the government of Egypt for hosting us. As many of you know, it takes a small army of people to put on an event of this size. And we'd just like to take a moment to recognize those individuals and groups. So first, our event director, Estelle Buffo, who oversaw all aspects of the logistics and planning, including our lovely cocktail hour last night. That was all Estelle. Our interns, who ensured you all had visa letters and accommodation and registration, Zaina, Leila, Amira, Marijo, Mohammed, you all have done a fantastic job. We really appreciate everything you've done for us. Our professional conference organizer, Set Up Egypt. They've handled all the room setup, the ushers, the registration, and so many more pieces that you've seen and haven't seen behind the scenes. We thank you all so much for your efforts. Our comms team from Arthur Nation, who have captured and documented every inch and every speech and put together the video you saw already, and will be continuing to generate content from this so that we can carry these lessons forward. Thank you so much to the Arthur Nation team. And of course to the St. Regis Almasa for hosting us in this beautiful venue and providing the food and transportation and logistics. We really appreciate everything that the hotel staff have done for us as well. And then last but not least, of course, to all of you, our speakers and our delegates, you're what brought this space to life. You're what's going to carry this energy and momentum forward. So thank you all so much for your participation and joining us here.
Liz, thank you so much. And a big round of applause for Liz and the wider co-develop team. I have the privilege to speak about the powerhouse of today's Global DPI Summit. And I was thinking of how I may be able to pay tribute to such an extraordinary person that has really made our discussions, our experience so amazing and extraordinary. And I was thinking about a poem, but I was discouraged from composing a poem last minute. I did get to that one line, which I think I've kind of forgotten, something to do with, you know, the sky and Garakai. Woohoo! Garakai, you are amazing. You have been the engine of this Global DPI Summit. A standing ovation, wow. Garakai, thank you so much. Garakai, you are as high as the sky. That's it. And we won't let him go without saying a few words of his key takeaways. Garakai.
I didn't expect it. Thank you, Kezam. Thank you all so much. I think if there's one thing that we learn in life, it's that people need people. And the fact that I don't think there's anyone who I spoke to and have not thanked you for being here, because it takes a lot to come from where you're coming from to join us for a cause that is beyond yourselves. And so I think our success comes from all of you and what you have all done for us. So allow me just to say thank you, and thank you all. I appreciate it. I think allow me at this juncture, I think, to say no more words, lest you see a grown man cry. But just to say thank you so much, and the inaugural Global DPI Summit is officially closed. Thank you.